In the last stream, we were continuing to work our way through the tier 3 section of the quest book, crafting our first nitro energy cell after getting our first nether star using our Draconic Evolution mob grinder. And then from there, we of course went on through to the end ring, fought the mighty ender chicken to get our first dragon egg, and right at the end of the last episode, we set it up on top of this extractor here to automatically generate basically an infinite number of dragon eggs going forward for whatever it is that we might end up needing those for. And after completing that quest, we have now unlocked these 6 quests at the bottom of this section of the quest book, which are all working towards unlocking the advanced machinery upgrade for the world engine. And so the plan for today's stream is going to be to start working our way through these quests, getting into Orotech with the assembler and the Enderic laser, getting into industrial foregoing with the advanced machine frames and the plastic, and of course getting a bit more into actual additions with the empowerer. We do of course already have our atomic reconstructor right about there, but we'll probably end up moving that as well at some point because right now it's kind of haphazardly placed in the middle of this room. However, before we get started with any of that, in the last stream, I did mention automating quartz-enriched iron and then proceeded to not actually automate the quartz-enriched iron. And so the very first thing that I would like to do today is, of course, look at automating that quartz-enriched iron. There are a couple of different ways that you can do this. The way that we're going to do this is using a constructor and a destructor from refined storage. These are pretty nifty items in that they're going to allow our refined storage system to place and break blocks, and if we tweak the settings, we can also use them to place and break items. And so real quick, I'm going to request one of each of those, start and start. That should be very quick with our golden auto crafters. It is indeed. And the idea here is pretty straightforward. If we were to, for example, place down a constructor like this, ideally pointing in the other direction, the idea with the constructor is that you can filter it to place down blocks. So for example, if we wanted it to place down oak logs, because it's connected to the system, it has access to all of the items that we do. So in here, I can put an oak log in and it will just place that oak log down. And then if I were to break this, it would go ahead and just place down another oak log. The destructor works in exactly the way you would expect it to by the name, in that it will break the item in front of it. You can whitelist or blacklist this to filter what it does or doesn't break, but you can use these to both break and place items. And specifically with the constructor, you can change the settings in here to drop items instead of placing blocks. If you change that to yes, it will then just go ahead and spit out the item that you've put in there as opposed to going ahead and placing the block down. And so what I am thinking of doing is I'm thinking of nestling a little bit of automation kind of around in the back here, specifically maybe behind the cactus. I've gone ahead and gotten rid of the water and snad that we had here previously, and I might also look at moving this as well because it's kind of in the way here. But what I'm thinking is if we were to grab, let's say, a little bit of glass, we could potentially have some water down right about here. I'm going to put glass there for a second because what I also want to do is place down our constructor onto the glass like that, and our destructor, let's say, like that. And then we're going to break this. We're going to put a bit of glass above, like so. It doesn't need to be glass. Any block would work. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to have this constructor drop in the iron, the redstone, and the Certus quartz that we need to drop in to get quartz-enriched iron. So if we put all 3 of these in like this, and we swap this to drop items, that's now going to put all of those items in here. And specifically, you'll see right now it is set to scheduling mode default. If we change this to round robin, it will drop 1 iron, then 1 redstone, then 1 Certus quartz, and then back to an iron again, which is of course going to be perfect for making that quartz-enriched iron. From there, all we need to do is make sure that our destructor here is set to pick up items instead of breaking, and we're going to filter it to only pick up the quartz-enriched iron. By default, it is set to block list. We want to click that and swap it to allow list. And so now that's only going to pick up quartz-enriched iron when it's available in front of it. And so in theory, what we should be able to do is put some water right about there. And that automation is now basically complete. The block above here, I do believe, is required because otherwise sometimes the items kind of end up spewing out, which is not ideal. The only final thing for us to do here is make sure that this doesn't happen forever, because right now, if I were to connect this up, it would continually pump out iron, redstone, and Certus quartz until we run out of iron, redstone, or Certus quartz. And even worse, let's say we run out of Certus quartz first, because it's what we have the least of, it would continue to pump out iron and redstone, and those items would just cause lag and then eventually despawn, which is of course not ideal. That is where the detector from refined storage comes into play. If we go ahead and quickly teach our system how to make that, and then of course go ahead and request it, we're just missing 2 redstone comparators. That is probably completely fine, although we are missing a bit of nether quartz, and this is kind of a problem that we ran into in the last stream. Because we're not using an unearther on soul sand, we're actually not generating nether quartz continuously. And so real quick, I might take a slight diversion away from the quartz enriched iron automation to do a little bit of chicken work. We can kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone here, because we also need to get plastic to get into industrial foregoing. And as it turns out, there is a rubber chicken available which produces this dry rubber. This can then just be smelted directly into plastic, which we can then use for a lot of the crafts and recipes from industrial foregoing, including the advanced machine frame that we're going to need to make ourselves a world engine upgrade. And so real quick, what I'm thinking, if we go ahead and bookmark the nether quartz chicken and the rubber chicken, neither of these look too difficult to make. The rubber chicken is just an orange chicken with an oak chicken. The oak chicken is a brown and a green, so brown, green, and orange. I'll bookmark all of those. Nether quartz is, as we saw last episode, iron and stone. Stone we already have. Iron is just flint and bone. Bone is just feather and white, so I'll bookmark white. Feather is just regular and white as well, so white there is going to serve as 2 purposes. And then the flint is just gravel and gray. We might already have gray, but on the off chance we don't, I'll bookmark that. And then gravel is stone and gray again. So what I'm going to do real quick, I'm going to do the exact same thing we did last time. I'm going to get a bunch of our eggs. Of course, we can just take our regular chickens and throw those into a roost with, of course, the help from our temporal pouch if we want to get a large number of eggs very quickly. And then from there, we can go ahead and craft those eggs with dye. For example, we have cactus, which we can, of course, very easily and quickly turn into green dye using our emerald furnace over here, like that. And then, of course, we can take that, craft it with the egg, like so, to get a green egg. And then, ideally, we're going to get at least 1 green chicken. Once we have that green chicken, we can, of course, then use it in our chicken breeder to get all of the different chickens that we're after. And so real quick, I'm going to get a gray chicken, a white chicken, an orange chicken, a brown chicken, and a green chicken. And then we'll see if we can't breed those up into the nether quartz and rubber chickens. Real quick, you can use the chickens once you have them to make dyes very, very quickly. This isn't even accelerated, it's just the base speed. And so, for example, here I'm trying to get more orange dye for the orange chicken, and using the red chicken that we already have makes that much, much easier. All right, so not too long later, we have a green, a red, an orange, a regular, and a white chicken. And of course, we already had the gray chicken. The only chicken that we are missing is the brown chicken. That's because to get the brown chicken, we need some cocoa beans. And it looks like we can get cocoa beans by using a stone crook on sand, or at least we have a chance if we use the stone crook on sand. And so real quick, if we grab our trusty construction stick, what we should be able to do is very quickly throw down a large amount of sand, like so. And then from there, if we go ahead and ultimine that with the stick, we do get ourselves some cocoa beans. And then, of course, we can use those cocoa beans to make brown dye. And hopefully, we can then use that brown dye to get ourselves a brown chicken. 6 is not a lot of eggs, but if we are lucky, it might be enough. And it totally was. Nice. So let's take you, and now I'm going to go ahead and also grab some of our other chickens, like our stone chicken, who is hiding out over here, and we're going to do a little bit of chicken breeding to get ourselves the nether quartz chicken, and of course, the rubber chicken. The rubber chicken, of course, being the easier of the two here, just the brown and the green. Where's our breeder? Right here. So if we do green and brown, of course, with some of our seeds, we can then use our temporal pouch to make that nice and quick. Fantastic. We don't really need more than 1 oak chicken. And then I believe it was oak and orange gets us the rubber chicken. Nice. We can go ahead and whack that into one of these, and we're going to start producing the rubber. We'll do the exact same thing here for nether quartz. It's a bit more of an involved chain that, of course, involves us getting flint and iron and gravel, but the process, of course, is exactly the same. And there we go. Not too long later, we have a nether quartz chicken, as well as an iron chicken, a flint chicken, a gravel chicken, a feather chicken. We've got quite a few other chickens now that we can always add to our lineup if we wanted to in the not so distant future. And of course, if we just go ahead and whack our nether quartz chicken in there, we are now pretty much good to go on nether quartz. So let me grab the dry rubber and make sure we allocate this draw to it so it's available in the system. We'll do the same for nether quartz as well, like so. And with that, we can now go all the way back to our detector that we were just trying to make. That, of course, requires some redstone comparators. We don't necessarily need to do it, but in the interest of making our lives easier for the future, I'm going to go ahead and just teach our system how to make redstone torches and how to make comparators. That way, if we need them going forward, we should just be able to request them. And of course, it means that we can actually request the detectors going forward as well. Apparently, our system does not have any silicon, nor does it know how to make the silicon. That does kind of sound like a job for the silicon chicken. The silicon chicken being a clay chicken and a sand chicken. I don't think we have either a clay chicken or a sand chicken just yet, but again, I'm fairly certain that shouldn't be too difficult. Clay is light blue and water. Water we already have. Light blue we can make with dye. And then as for the sand chicken, that is made with yellow and stone. Yellow and stone we do not have. We do, however, have some dandelion yellows ready to go. And so real quick, I'm going to do some more chicken breeding and get us the silicon chicken. And then finally, clay and sand. That should, again, be everything for our silicon chicken. It totally is. Let's not forget to put our stone chicken back in here. And then let's go ahead and whack our silicon chicken into that final roost that we have. We're going to have to get more roosts fairly soon here because we have filled that up pretty quickly. But that's going to get us infinite silicon, again, making the process of making processors just that little bit easier in the future. With that, we should now be able to finally request the detector. And the idea with the detector is that it is able to emit a redstone signal based on if you have more or less of a given item in the system. For example, right here, we could put in, let's say, redstone, and on the left, you have the mode. Right now, it's set to emit redstone when on the amount. So if we had exactly 0 redstone, it would output a redstone signal. If we change it to emit a redstone signal when above the amount, you'll see now it's emitting a redstone signal because we have above 0 redstone. Right now, we've got 25,600. So if I typed in 20,000, it would still emit a redstone signal. It's only if I typed in 50,000 that it would no longer emit a redstone signal because of the fact that we, of course, don't have that much redstone. And what we can do here is we can take this, and over here, we can change the mode on the constructor. Right now, it's set to redstone mode ignore. If we change this to low, the device will only be activated without a redstone signal. And so effectively, what we should be able to do is place down this detector. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take some quartz enriched iron, throw that into there, and we're going to say emit a redstone signal when we have above, let's say 256. And so now what's going to happen is as soon as we connect all of these up to our actual refined storage system, the system is going to start putting all of the redstone, iron, and so does quartz into the water, producing quartz enriched iron, and then importing it with the destructor. And then once we get to over 256 quartz enriched iron, this constructor is going to stop producing anything until we use enough quartz enriched iron to get us back down below that 256 number. Once again, using the pipe connector, we can go ahead and place down the pipes. That should now be connected up. It totally is. And so you'll see all of those items getting placed in and then getting converted into quartz enriched iron. And if we look in the system now, we should see the amount of quartz enriched iron that we have going up, and that should continue to go up until we get to that 256 amount. Just to make sure that it does work, let's do 128. We'll change the number there. Now we should see a few more quartz enriched iron coming in as the items that are already in get sucked in. There is occasionally going to be some loss. Like right now, there's a piece of iron there that is going to despawn, but given that we have unlimited iron and given that we've just made an iron chicken, which would make it even easier for us to get even more unlimited iron in the future, I don't think a little bit of loss there is going to be that big of a deal. And with that, we have effectively automated the production of quartz enriched iron. We can then go ahead and kind of just cover that up. And we now just have a little window showing us if that quartz enriched iron production is working. I will, before I close it up, change this back. I might even make it 512 to give us a nice big buffer of quartz enriched iron. Of course, at any point in the future, we can go ahead and change that number to give us even more if we need it. But now that that's automated, we can focus on starting with this reinforcing the frame quest, which wants us to make a mob slaughter factory and, of course, get our very first plastic, which should be very easy to do by taking the rubber that we already have and running it through any kind of furnace. So now, in order to make the mob slaughter factory, which I will go ahead and bookmark, I am going to, of course, teach our system how to make the pity machine frame here, because we're going to need quite a few of those for a lot of the machines in industrial foregoing. And then from there, we just need 2 iron swords, 1 and 2, as well as 2 iron axes, also 1 and 2, followed by a gold gear, very straightforward, and 2 of the plastic that we've already made. Let's have our system make that pity machine frame for us. And with that, we, of course, get our mob slaughter factory. Let's request an importer so we can power this thing. And as the name kind of suggests, you can use this to slaughter mobs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and place this down in here. I might move this jumbo tank. It does retain its inventory when you break it, which is very useful. If we place that down, it does go down, thankfully facing the right way. The only problem with it is that by default, the working area is very small and therefore not quite big enough for us to actually kill any mobs. The good news is that we might be able to make some range add-ons to increase the size of that. To do that, though, we do have to make a dissolution chamber. Thankfully, the dissolution chamber is also a quest that we do need to complete. And so in order to make the dissolution chamber, it looks like we're just missing a diamond gear, which should be very straightforward. We will, of course, request another pity machine frame, and boom, our dissolution chamber is done. So we do need to put these down somewhere. What I'm thinking I might do, actually, is I'm thinking I might move these energizing rods. I'm thinking I might change the way that these are kind of set up so that I can put my dissolution chamber and other machines from industrial foregoing into the wall here. If we pick these up, we can potentially just have these down in the ground. I think that might look a bit better as well. That's going to allow us to still use the energizing orb, but it's going to free up some space over here for us to place down things like our dissolution chamber. In here, if we want to make the range add-ons, we do need some latex. Latex is made using a fluid extractor. The fluid extractor is normally where you start. We, of course, started with the fluid chicken, so we kind of skipped having to make the fluid extractor. The fluid extractor is pretty straightforward, though. You place this down. I don't believe it requires power. If you put down some wood in front of it, it will go ahead and slowly but surely break the wood in front, and in turn, produce latex. You can provide power to this. Providing power to this will increase the speed at which it works, and so temporarily, if we did something like this, and of course, like this, that should go ahead and provide power to this, and now we're going to get more latex from this tree fluid extractor. We need 1 bucket's worth to be able to move it over with our bucket, and so if we quickly temporal pouch that, we should get up to our bucket fairly quickly, at which point we can then look at making really any of the range add-ons here. We don't need that big of a range add-on, though, because of the fact that our mob farm is not that big, and so honestly, I think something like the tier 4 iron add-on here should do the trick for us. Just to be safe, I might go for the gold add-on. It's 2 glass panes, very straightforward, some gold nuggets, which we of course have thanks to our compacting drawer, and then just 2 redstone and the aforementioned latex. So over here, if we put in 2 panes of glass, 2 redstone, and 4 gold, it doesn't matter, by the way, where in the dissolution chamber you put this. You can put these anywhere you like, so long as all of the correct items are in, it will work just fine. And then as soon as we get to exactly 1 bucket worth of latex, we can take that out, place it into here, and that should make us a gold tier range add-on, which we can then, of course, place directly into here. That's going to give us a much, much larger range. And from there, all we need to do, of course, is make sure this thing has power, which I'm going to do with this importer. I don't know if we're going to need that fluid extractor on a permanent basis. Let's once again make sure that is connected. And then now this should start to slowly but surely kill any mobs that are inside of the range and turn them into liquid meat and into pink slime. Now, of course, one problem with where I've put this is that we're really only going to kill Enderman and or Blazers because they're the only mobs that kind of fit into the green box there. So what I might do, even though it's going to look less symmetrical, which I do not love, I'll probably move it down and put it maybe like right here so that we can access all of the mobs inside of our mob spawner and much more quickly get all of the pink slime and liquid meat that we're going to need to progress. Specifically, we're going to need the pink slime because the pink slime here is used in the making of the advanced machine frame, and that advanced machine frame is what we're after to make the advanced world engine upgrade. With this in the new position, we can, of course, also go ahead and temporal pouch that just to make sure that it kills the mobs before they get killed by the mob masher, and you'll see that very quickly we're getting a decent amount of pink slime and a very, very large amount of liquid meat. I do think that you do continue to get pink slime even once the liquid meat has filled, which is very good for us. And then from there, we can, of course, look at taking those and sending them around to where we want them to go. What we might want to do here is either have these liquids go into a tank so that we can store large numbers of them, Or it might actually work if we just put an external storage on the mob slaughter factory. That might give the refined storage system access to both of the liquids in here, at which point we could maybe just put a crafter on top of the dissolution chamber and use that to auto-craft the machine frames. I do think that it's probably going to be in our best interest to make some more tanks just so that we have a bigger buffer, because right now we can only hold 8 buckets worth, and as we progress further into the pack, having a large buffer to make large amounts of whatever item requires the pink slime is potentially going to be useful. So real quick, let's make a few more. I guess we might as well make the jumbo tanks. The singularity tanks are very easy, and then from there the jumbo tanks are also super easy. And so if we make 2 of these, we could put one of them down, let's say right about here. We could put one of them down, let's say right about here. And then from there, all you need to do is make sure the meat is set to push on one side and the pink slime is set to push on the other. And then from there, we could get an external storage to connect these up. Although now that I think about it, we do have functional storage in the pack, and functional storage does have fluid draws. These might actually be even better for us, because those are probably going to cut out the middleman of us requiring the external storage, because of course what we should be able to do here is go ahead and lock these to liquid meat and to pink slime, and then just link them to our system, at which point I'm fairly certain that we should be able to see the liquid meat and pink slime directly in the refined storage system without the need for any external storage. And of course, much like all of the other draws from functional storage, you can upgrade these in the future to store more than the default 32. That is, of course, less than what we have in these jumbo tanks, but I think that's a worthwhile trade-off for being able to access it via the refined storage system. Real quick, I will do this, and then use our configurator to just quickly extract the pink slime and liquid meat that we have in these jumbo tanks so that we can use these for something else in the future. Okay, so not too long later, I've gone ahead and got another auto crafter and placed it above our dissolution chamber here, connected that up to our refined storage system. I've also facaded up the floor here, so this looks a bit more normal. And I'm thinking now that we should be able to go ahead and, for example, teach our system how to make the advanced machine frame. So if we were to encode that up in our pattern grid, like so, it now wants to send all of these items around to the dissolution chamber, and it's going to get back an advanced machine frame. So let's encode that. We are going to have to teach our system how to make the simple machine frame, and this is where I was maybe incorrect earlier, because it looks like we are going to have to teach our system how to get latex, because we need latex in order to make the simple machine frame, which of course that is required for the next tier of machine frame. Let's also teach it how to make the gold and diamond gears. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and request maybe 64 patterns now. Now that we have quartz enriched iron coming in automatically, we can go ahead and really request as many of those as we like, because they're going to be refilled for us automatically. Let's encode that, and then let's drop all of these over into here, boom and boom, and then of course these two are going in over here, boom and boom. The Twitch chat has made a good point though, in that if we don't want to have to wait around for the fluid extractor, what we can go ahead and do is we can go ahead and make this insulating resin from the applied flux mod. This is pretty straightforward: cactus, slime ball, bone meal, silicon, and water with some glowstone there. A water bucket also works, and the idea with this is that we can use it to turn a regular cow into a fluid cow. And so if we head on all the way down to the spring at the end here, I'm fairly certain that some of our cows have wandered out into this area. They have indeed. And so if I were to right click this guy with the resin, it's going to convert this cow into a fluid cow. Look at that. And it says fluid latex. And so let me pick this guy up and bring him back. I was a little worried there when the cow died. I thought it might have failed in some way, but it looks like we are good to go. So let's put you back down there. Can I give you wheat to make you grow faster? I can give you wheat to make you grow faster. That could be worth doing. I'm also going to put you back in here for now, although we might have to use that in just a second. The idea though now is that we can use this fluid cow to just extract latex. I actually don't know if it works as a baby cow. Can I take latex out of you? I totally can. I right-clicked the cow and latex was produced. That did get as a bucket, but we can apparently take it one step further if we make the fluid cow jar, which looks pretty straightforward: some glass, a bucket, and a slab. We can then place that jar down, place the fluid cow above it, and then place an anvil above that. That was not the block that I intended to use there. And a quick wall fix later. That did give us time for our cow to basically fully grow. Look at that. Fantastic. Perfect timing. And so now I think what we should be able to do is pick up our cow, place it down here, place an anvil above that cow, and it's going to place that latex cow directly into the fluid jar. And you'll see now this just passively generates latex for us. And so what we should be able to do, as soon as we replace down the Draconian block, which I did also accidentally break here as well, let me do this and this, fantastic. We can now pick this up, I believe, and place it wherever we like. And again, if we get another fluid draw, we can just have that cow automatically pump its latex directly into one of these fluid draws, giving us an infinite supply of latex. And so we'll go ahead and throw it down with our chickens. He can be one of the team, like that. And I think for this specifically, one thing I didn't do earlier, by the way, is I didn't turn auto output on for these new chickens, which is why we're not actually receiving any more of these resources. Let me rectify that real quick. And let me also quickly throw my water chicken back in here as well, because right now we're not producing any more of those water eggs. But over here, if we make another one of these puller upgrades, we should be able to, I think, extract directly from the fluid jar down into the fluid draw. So if we go ahead and put that in and then right click until it's set to up, that's going to go ahead and just pull that latex down. And of course, from there, we can use our configuration tool and our linking tool to lock that and link it. And now we should have access to latex in the system in the same way that we do liquid meat and pink slime. And so now if we were to go ahead and request the machine frame, it is just missing plastic. So of course we are making the rubber over here automatically, but we're not automatically currently able to turn that into actual plastic. And that's where we could potentially do with getting another furnace, one that we use exclusively for autocrafting. Although, to be fair, what we could also do here, if we wanted to, again, feed two birds with one stone, is we could request an autocrafter, place it onto this chest, and just teach all of our smelting recipes to that, because then, of course, everything that gets smelted will go straight through to this chest and then be pulled in to the system. So if I were to place down our autocrafter on the bottom of this, because I don't think we're using these. Oh no, we are still using these pipes, but we don't need to be using these pipes. Wait, no, we're not using these pipes? No, we're not using these pipes. We're using the auto input feature on the furnace. So we could put this right about there, connect that up, and then we can teach all of our smelting recipes. For example, over here, if we teach our system how to smelt dry rubber into regular plastic, we can then just throw that into here. I'm going to rename this to smelting so that we know inside of our crafter manager which autocrafter this is, but that's now going to be able to make that plastic for us. We are going to have to make sure that we put plastic in one of these drawers over here so that the system can actually put it away once it's done, but that should totally work. And once we have that connected up, let's try one more time for the advanced machine frame. If I click start here, it should start by putting in the things required for the simple machine frame. It's not working because I've not linked these drawers to the system. That makes complete sense. If I link those up, now we should see the latex actually getting sent through out of the drawer there into the system. And then from there, we should hopefully see this working as well. I might have to cancel and re-request that craft. And now over here, we can see that it put everything in, including the 250 millibuckets of latex. And then the output here, I'm hoping I can set the top here to push. Yeah, I didn't think that was going to work. That does work with applied energistics, but unfortunately it does not work with refined storage. And so what we're probably going to need to do here is get another importer so we can pull in the final product from our dissolution chamber. Let's go ahead and place that down right about here like that, and make sure that the left side there is enabled, which it is. And of course, now it needs pink slime, which for whatever reason, it has decided not to put in there. Okay, this totally works. All I changed here is on the fluid input side, I've changed this to disabled. You can just click to change it to push, to pull, or to disabled. It might have been the case that the importer was pulling the pink slime in out of this tank. I don't know why it would do that, because it's not really an output, but the good news is this is now working. And so if we were to do it again, let's request like 2 more of these. It should just be able to make the simple machine frames and then upgrade those to the advanced machine frames. And of course, if we do something like that, it can do it a fair bit faster. Look at that. It just puts everything in and makes everything that we need. Cool. One thing that I did also learn between episodes is that you can actually facade over a lot of the stuff from refined storage as well. So for example, we can do something like this and kind of completely cover up that importer if we want, which is also pretty nifty. And so now we do have that advanced machine frame, which should be another quest complete just as soon as we grab those out of the system. It is indeed fantastic. And we actually only need 2 of these to get the 16 world engine machine blocks that we're going to need to upgrade the world engine. So now we can move over to looking at this Empowerer here. The way this works is we craft one Empowerer and then surround it with 4 display stands, and then we can use that to make recipes like this Empowered Diamantine Crystal. You put the one item on the center Empowerer, and then you put the auxiliary items around on the display stands. In this case, it's clay with light blue dye and a diamantine crystal block. Diamantine is just diamond zapped with the atomic reconstructor. We do, of course, have many diamond blocks, and so if we were to do one of these, we did go ahead and change this in a previous episode to make sure that it only activates with a redstone signal. We've got a few options here, of course. We could put down a button and use that, but I think we could also do something like this, and that way, as soon as you drop the item in front of the atomic reconstructor, it just activates and zaps the item. That was going to annoy me though, so I'm real quick going to change it to a dark oak pressure plate just so that it looks a little bit more in theme with the rest of the base. And back over here, if we want to make the Empowerer, we need 2 iron casing, which is iron, black quartz, and sticks. Fairly straightforward. We do need a display stand, so we're going to have to make 5 of those. We also need a double battery, which is made with a single battery, an advanced coil, and some Enderic crystals. The Enderic crystals are made with iron. Let me get some redstone as well, because the Restonia crystals, these ones right here, are made with redstone. And so we'll do a full stack of both of these. We'll do this, and we'll do this. Perfect, so that gets us a stack of each. And then back over here, let's see if we can't pull this together. So we need basic coil, which is a bunch of Restonia crystals. I don't know how much black quartz we have. We got 6 more. We might run into a bit of a black quartz issue. I know we need at least 5 of these gold coils though, because we need 1 for the single battery, we need 1 for the double battery, and then we also need 1 for each of the display stands. So we might need 5 more on top of what we already have. The good news though is the rest of this isn't too bad. To make the display stands, each one needs an advanced coil. Let me just quickly check how many advanced coils we have. We have 3, so let me make 2 more of those. Perfect. That should now be enough. We then need to get 15 aesthetic green quartz and 15 aesthetic quartz. The aesthetic quartz is, you guessed it, made by zapping regular blocks of quartz. So let's take, I guess, 15 of those. And then to turn it into the aesthetic green quartz, for that we have to zap chiseled quartz, which we can make by taking regular blocks of nether quartz. I believe we can then craft those into nether quartz slabs and then recraft those slabs into chiseled quartz. Perfect. So if we do this and this, bit fast there, let me try that one more time. There we go. We get at least 15 of each of those, at which point we should be able to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 display stands. That's everything for the Empowerer. And then now we just need to put this down. Now I think for the sake of symmetry, what I might do is I might move some of the chicken stuff here, which I think we can pick up with the chicken stick. I learned that by accident earlier when I picked this up, but that's a lot easier than trying to pick it up with the pickaxe, because for whatever reason, it just takes a long time to do that with the pickaxe. For now, let's move these over to the back wall, like this. Let's throw our Empowerer down right in the center of the room, like this. And then I believe the display stands need to go 2 blocks away, so there's a 2-block gap between the display stand and the Empowerer. And then the final piece of the puzzle is to get power to all of the display stands, which of course we can do fairly easily by just requesting and connecting up 4 importers. And once we have a red laser going to all of these are now all receiving power. You'll see in the bottom there it says Crystal Flux, but at the top it says FE, so I'm pretty sure Crystal Flux and FE are interchangeable. These are now fully powered though, and so we should be able to place our Diamantine Crystal block in the center. We then need 2 regular pieces of clay with 1 block of clay, and then 1 light blue dye, which we do have because we made the light blue chicken earlier in the episode. And so if we place all of those on, again, the order does not matter, we should see a particle effect on the center block, and after a couple of seconds, we should see the craft complete, and that should turn into an empowered Diamantine Crystal. Again, if we wanted to, I think we could even do 1 of these to make it just that little bit faster. Nice. And again, I think we might need 2 of those. We do need 2 of those. So real quick, let me just do that one more time. And there we go. Our second empowered Diamantine Crystal block is done. Again, everything to make 2 lots of these, ideally. And so now we just need to get 32 Enderium. And crucially, we need to get 4 Flux gates. And so that's where we have to start with Oratech, which begins with the Assembler. So to make the assembler here, we need 2 regular crafters, which is going to require some crafting tables. I'm going to make a full stack just so we have them for future crafts. And I'm going to do the same with the droppers as well. We've got quite a bit of space in our system and the ability to really make as much as we like. So that's just going to make crafting easier for the future. We then need copper. We need adamant ingots. These are made by crafting together nickel and diamonds. I'm going to go ahead and quickly check how many diamonds we have. We've got 2,000. I'm going to make a full stack of adamant ingots, again, just so we're not micro-crafting those again and again and again. And then from there, we need 1 of these plating blocks. I think the copper is going to be pretty straightforward for us, although Let me just make sure that all of these do require steel. I think they do. Yeah, they totally do. And I don't think it really matters which block we use. We then also, finally, need some motors. These are made with even more steel, some nickel, and some magnetic coils. For that, we are missing some Invar. And as far as Invar goes, it might be worth doing some automation with the alloy smelter here so that we can start requesting alloys like Invar, like Electrum, like Constantan, without having to come over to the foundry. Because while the foundry does work, it's a little bit slow and, of course, manual to use. So real quick, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and request 2 more auto-crafters. I'm going to put one of those down on top of the alloy smelter, and the other one I'm actually going to put onto the stone cutter, because it turns out you can actually use refined storage to auto-craft with the stone cutter. Specifically, I'm thinking for copper wire here. I didn't think this was possible, but you can just go ahead and do something like this and encode a stone cutter recipe, and then if we put an auto-crafter pointing at that stone cutter, we should be able to auto-craft with it. Again, we might have to put some kind of importer onto the stone cutter as well to actually do the craft, but that should allow us to fully automate the production of copper wire. And if we put another auto-crafter over on here, like that, and of course rotate it to point down, we should then be able to teach our system how to make things like Invar using that alloy smelter. And the really useful thing about the alloy smelter as well, and really all machines from Enderic, is that in here you can configure the sides under the IO configuration tab, and here you can left click and drag to spin this around. If you then go and right click on the top, you can set it to push, to pull, or to push and pull. If we set it to both push and pull, that is not going to do anything, because we've just learned that this doesn't matter because you can't pump items into the autocrafter. I'm too used to using applied energistics. We're going to have to put an importer onto this. We could probably sneak one in over here though and just connect it to our pre-existing cabling that we're using for the quartz enriched iron setup. So with this importer down, we can of course go ahead and facade that up, boom, boom. And now in theory, the Invar should be makeable. If I request, let's say 64 Invar and click start, the only trouble with the alloy smelter is that it's pretty slow. However, we can make it faster by upgrading our capacitor. Right now we have the basic capacitor. We could upgrade to the double layer capacitor, and then there's even an octadic capacitor, the highest tier that you can make, I believe. And we could use that to make this a fair bit quicker. If I quickly take these out and just kind of cancel this craft, I do think that was working. I do believe we should have a little bit of Invar in the system. We totally do. What we should be able to do is look at making some of this energetic alloy ingot, which is made with gold, redstone, and glowstone. How much glowstone do we have? We've got loads. How much gold do we have? We have loads, and we of course have a ton of redstone. And so for this, we can of course do one of these to make that a fair bit faster. We are running into a bit of a power throughput problem there, but that's completely fine. Then let's go ahead and make another one of these basic capacitors so we can make the double layer capacitor. And I believe that should allow more power to be stored. We'll go from 64,000 up to 256,000. It's also going to make it just passively faster as well. And then from there, if we wanted to upgrade one further, what we would need to do is get another one of these double layer capacitors, because you do need 2 of them to make the octadic capacitor. We then also need a coal dust, which of course is just coal inside of our crushing factory. It is going to be a lot easier for us to work though if we do clear out some of the stuff in our inventory, because we've got a lot of stuff clogging up our inventory here. Let me try that one more time. Throw you in there, take out some of the coal dust, and give me another one of the basic capacitors, and then let's see if we can't make another one of the double layer capacitors. And then finally, if we want to make the octadic capacitor, we just need to get 2 vibrant alloy ingots, which are made with the previous tier energetic alloy ingot and ender pearls. So let's take let's take some of our ender pearls from the mob farm, let's throw both of those into here, boom and boom. And we just need 2 of these actually to get what we need. And so as soon as the second one is done, perfect, we can then craft up that octadic capacitor just as soon as we craft 1 block of glowstone, boom, and boom, perfect. And so now that should be a decent amount faster. Let's once again get rid of you and try requesting 64 Invar. Is that going to make it quicker than it did previously? The answer is yes. It makes it a lot faster than it did previously. Almost too fast for the importer to keep up, actually. The importer isn't able to pull the Invar in fast enough. One thing we can do if we want is we can look at making speed upgrades for our refined storage system. I feel like we're going to need a lot of these going forward, so I will teach the system how to make them and of course throw them into one of the gold autocrafters. They're fairly straightforward, just sugar, quartz enriched iron, and then a basic upgrade that our system already knows how to make. And never mind, it doesn't know how to make it. I really thought we taught it previously. The upgrade also pretty straightforward, just iron, glass, and an improved processor. This is going to allow us to speed up basically all of the components from refined storage. So you can use it in the constructor, the destructor. You can even put it in the autocrafters as well to make those faster. And I believe by default, you can put up to 4 in a given machine. And so in here, if we were to put all 4 of these in, like so, we can then go ahead and try that one more time. Let's go for another stack of Invar, I guess. We've got a ton of iron and nickel, so it's not really going to be a problem. You'll see now that's pulling that in more than fast enough, and so the bottleneck there is not going to be the alloy smelter. I'm also being told that apparently we do not need an autocrafter on the stonecutter itself. I'm being told that actually, as long as you encode the pattern in the stonecutter pattern section of the pattern grid, this should just work like a regular craft. And so if I were to put this in over here, I'm assuming it would just work. Let me give that a try. We, of course, haven't taught our system how to make copper plates yet, and so for now, I am going to go ahead and manually do something like this and just make like a stack of copper plates. But now if I were to request some copper wire, let's again say 32, it totally does just make it. It makes it as if this is the stonecutter, which is very useful indeed. With all that done, we should now be able to make at least 4 of these magnetic coils and then 2 of these motors to get ourselves the assembler. Now, the way that the machines work from Orotech is that when you place them down initially, they are only 1 block, but you'll see that the outline here is 4 blocks total, and you'll see when we hover over it, it does say multi-block required 3 machine cores. And so if we type in machine core into JER, you'll see there are quite a few different tiers of machine core, starting at primitive and working all the way up to ultimate. And it does say that better cores only allow more add-on extenders to be connected. So right now, we actually don't need to worry about that at all. We can just make 3 of the basic machine cores, super easy, just crafting tables and planks. And then if we put those down here, here, and here, we can then right-click on the assembler itself, and it will form into the multi-block. Nice. And then from there, we can look at using that to make the Enderic laser. So I'm not going to leave this here, of course. We are going to move that. But what do we need for the Enderic laser? We need 2 more motors, which again should be very straightforward now that we have all of that copper and all of that Invar. We then need an Enderic lens, which is what we actually need the assembler for. This requires more of those adamant ingots with carbon fiber strands and Enderic compound. Enderic compound, we're going to have to make in a centrifuge, and the centrifuge here is, again, you guessed it, more of these motors with some glass bottles, some blocks of iron, and some copper. Thankfully, we do have all of that, and I don't think this one actually requires any machine cores. Never mind, it totally does. It requires 1 machine core right on top of it, like so. They do all have pretty cool animations. I think what I might do here is I think I might move these autocrafters up because we don't necessarily need to have direct eyeline access. And then I think I might look at embedding these machines into the wall over here. And not too long later, I've gone ahead and moved the autocrafters up by 2 and then moved over the assembler and the centrifuge for now. I'm not sure I love the way this looks at the moment, but once we get more machines in here, it might look a little bit better. What we should now be able to do, I believe, is crush up some ender pearls to get ender dust. And then if we throw that ender dust into the centrifuge here, it should go ahead and spin that into the Enderic compound. We do only need 2 for the Enderic lens. And so with that kind of taken care of, can I make the laser? Oh, I totally can in just a second. We need to put you there. We need to get the adamant ingot in as well. And then, of course, we do also need to get that carbon fiber strand. This is also made in the centrifuge with coal dust. You can use hot graphite dust as well. It's just much, much more expensive. And, of course, we do have coal dust on us already. And so if we were to get you out, put you in, and do one of these, that should get us a bunch of those carbon fiber strands, which we can then put into here. And again, if you accelerate this, you'll see when you look at the block at the top of the screen there, it says primitive core, and then assembler. So if you want to accelerate it, you just have to accelerate the block that is actually the assembler. And then now we're just missing 2 more motors because we used our previous motors. So let me get 4 more of those coils, 1 and 2. And I think that should be basically everything. It totally is everything we need to make the Enderic lens. We then need to get a target designator. For the target designator, we're just missing 3 processing units. These are made with carbon fiber strands, electrum, and redstone. This is the perfect opportunity for us to use our new, faster alloy smelter to teach our system electrum. Let me quickly do one of these, encode, and whack it in. And then, of course, just like we did with the Invar before it, I'm going to go ahead and request like 128 electrum just so we have that ready to go as and when we need it. And so really, we just need more carbon fiber strands, which we have a ton of, along with plastic, which we have, redstone, which we have, and electrum, which we now have. Perfect. So let's go 1, 2, 3, and 4. And again, we'll do a quick accelerate here to make that just a little bit faster. And as soon as we have the required number of processors, we can make the target designator. So the way this works is a little interesting, actually. We're going to use the Enderic laser here to shoot amethyst clusters and turn them into fluxite, and then the fluxite here is required in the making of the flux gate. It's made in the assembler with platinum, fluxite, and a processor. I'm pretty sure we are getting platinum. Again, I think that's something we're getting from our end excavator over there. Also, it looks like we've had a loot bee come by while I wasn't looking. The only trouble with the Enderic laser is that it will break, I think, basically anything that we point it at, up to a certain range. And so if we put it down and point it at a crystal, it'll break the crystal, but it will break anything behind the crystal as well. Now, of course, we don't currently have any amethyst clusters, and I think what we're going to need to do here is potentially take Silk Touch off of this her using our damaged anvil over here, and then apply it potentially to something like our Diamond All-in-One tool or a different kind of pickaxe, so that we can then go and break some of the amethyst clusters that are over in the healing grove that we were at the beginning of the episode, and then we can bring those back and use them to make the fluxite. So let me put away everything that isn't Silk Touch, ideally into my enchantment library. We can also put the hoe away for now, as well as some of the other stuff that, again, is starting to clog up our inventory just a little bit. And then from there, let's go ahead and I'll make a new pickaxe here, just because I don't want to have it permanently on my Diamond All-in-One tool. Let's make a new diamond pickaxe. Let's do one of these and one of these. And then if we quickly fly on over to our little cave, we should be able to acquire some more of these clusters, which we're then going to take back with us and place down. Now, let me do a quick bit of number crunching here. If we want to make the advanced machine upgrade, we need 4 flux gates, which means we are going to need 8 fluxite, and I think it is a 1-to-1 ratio here, so we're going to need 8 amethyst clusters to make that happen. So let's quickly grab a few more of those. Once we have those clusters, we can bring them back and look at setting this up. I am being told by the Twitch chat that the budding amethyst cluster isn't too difficult to make. It looks like it is not. We can just take a block of amethyst and then enchant that to get a budding amethyst. Of course, to do that, we do have to get some levels. I did put my levels back after last episode. Let's take all of those out and try one of these. Perfect, that gets us a budding amethyst. And then I'm being told that apparently the Enderic laser here won't actually break the budding amethyst. So what we might be able to do is throw down a few more of our cables. Of course, down here I've done the same thing that I did on the other sides of the room. I've just put down another one of the energy cubes right about there, connected that up to our main network with the importer, and then we're using that to power all these machines. Over here, we'll throw down the laser like that. And then we do, of course, have to put another one of those machine cores onto there, like so. And then we do have to point it at the crystal. So what I'm thinking is we might be able to maybe reroute that refined storage cable kind of up like this. And then if we put down the budding amethyst like that, I'm hopeful then that I can do something like that. And then using the target designator, if we right-click on here, then we shift right-click on here, he's now going to shoot at this. And so hopefully, once that's fully grown into an amethyst cluster, it should shoot it and break it. Now, I might have put that too close. It might need to be like 1 block further away because it is shooting it, but it's kind of not doing what I want it to do. There we go. This now does work, and it looks like the Enderic laser is actually also speeding up the growth of the crystals as well, so it's increasing the speed at which the amethyst clusters grow, and then it's shooting it. So it does need to be just that 1 block further up. That's all we've changed there. That does make it a little bit more awkward with our refined storage cabling. It means we have to reroute it kind of all the way around the top like that. And of course, ideally, we would love to have one here as well. Perfect. And then if I rotate this, I'm actually surprised that doesn't connect. But if I rotate that to face down, I assume that will connect, or really anywhere that's not up. And of course, we can have all of these point down if we want, just to make it look consistent. And so now we actually have unlimited fluxite. I did not think we were going to get unlimited fluxite, but that totally works. And so finally, all we need to do is, of course, combine that up with some more processing units and some more platinum. So we need 4 of these, which means we need 4 processing units and 4 platinum. We already have the 2 processing units. We can just go ahead and replace in all of the stuff that we used a second ago for this. We're just missing the redstone. There we go. We'll accelerate that as well, making sure to take those out of our offhand so we don't end up putting down cable all the time, because that's not what I was intending to do there. And then from there, we just need to grab the platinum out of the system, and I think we should be good to go. So if we do this with 2 of these and 1 of you, we can take all of the extra fluxite out, throw that in, and we're going to get more than enough flux gates to complete this quest. And of course, we're going to get more than enough FLUX gates to actually make the World Engine Advanced Machine upgrade, because I think we now have everything that we need. So let me once again do a bit of an inventory clear, and let's grab the 2 advanced machine frames. Let's also go ahead and grab those 2 empowered diamantine crystals. We'll grab all of the FLUX gates. We only need 4, so I'll put 2 of those away. Fantastic. And then now all we need to do is get the Enderium. The Enderium, it turns out we can make in block form in the World Engine with a Dragon Egg and some Molten Ender. We saw the Molten Ender last time. We can just put Ender Pearls into the Foundry. That's going to get us Molten Ender. Once we have 800 millibuckets, we can then go ahead and combine that with the Dragon Egg to get 8 blocks. So we just need another 1.6 buckets of Molten Ender. I think I might already have some left over in the smeltery, because last time we also used, I think, about 1.6 buckets worth. And so real quick, I'm going to melt these down. I'm going to take it over to the World Engine. Let me quickly check the World Engine to see how much we have in here, if any. I did also turn this off, by the way, so this is no longer using any FE per tick. We have 400 millibuckets, so we need 1.2 buckets. It's still a bit of an awkward number. It still means we're going to have to take 2 buckets over. I do not wish to go to spawn. I wish to go home for the time being, but I'm going to melt down some more Ender Pearls, get the Molten Ender, take that over, and then, of course, we are now at a point where we've got 500 Dragon Eggs, and so we have, of course, more than enough to make the 2 blocks of Enderium. One thing we can also do here, actually, if we shift and scroll with the basic fluid tank from Mekanism, which is super easy to make, we can use this as a bucket, which saves us making multiple buckets, and it also lets us take out like non-specific amounts as well. So if we had, 1.5 buckets, we could take that out. It's just a bit easier than using regular buckets. Again, the World Engine is where I'd love to go. Let's put you in there, and then let's drop in our Dragon Egg, and then of course put in the rest as well, and that should be everything. I will take the extra 200 millibuckets out of there just so we're not leaving things in the World Engine, but as soon as that is done, the resultant Enderium, of course, is going to be imported into the system, and with that, we should be good on Enderium. We are. Nice. And so now I actually do need to go back to the World Engine just as soon as we craft that down. We need 32 Enderium in total. We've made way more than 32, which is good. We have some for the future should we need it. But I think that is now everything. And so one more time, let's go back through to the World Engine. Let's place in our advanced machine frames, our empowered diamantine crystals, our FLUX gates, and our Enderium. Let's give that a quick temporal pouch to make it just that little bit faster. And we should get all of the World Engine upgrades that we're going to need. And with that, I'm pretty sure that we have completed this center section of the quest book. We just need to go and talk to the Echo of the Catalyst. That's it from me for now. Go check with the other Echoes. Maybe they've cooked up something fun. Look at that. We have done it. 25 coins, and we will, of course, auto-build the newest World Engine upgrade for us here, giving us even more capacity to craft with the World Engine in the future. And with that, we're actually very close, I think, to the end of Chapter 3. We only have a few more quests left to go. As I mentioned at the end of the last episode, it should be fairly easy for us to set up this smart automation quest, or at least to complete these items to complete the quest, because we don't actually need the Quantum Ring because we're using refined storage. And next time we'll come back and we'll look at completing the Ignis fight so that we can get the Kill Ignis quest complete and get the Ignitium Ingot. I don't know if that's how you pronounce that. We'll also look at this Tampering with Spirits quest and, of course, this Gathering Souls quest so that we can make the Spirit Block upgrade. And once we have all of that taken care of, we will be well and truly into Chapter 4 of the quest book. But that, of course, is a problem for future Isaac. For now, I'm going to go ahead and ramp up this episode of StoneBlock 4 there.